Hello viewers, I'm Rinki Gogoi and you're watching Nagaland TV Primetime News. Now let's go to the headlines first. With regards to problems pertaining to Naga peace process, United Democratic Alliance Chairman TR Zeliang appeals all Naga leaders to refrain from making statements based on personal speculations in public domain. The former Chief Minister implies that any agreement without all Naga political groups' consent remains inconclusive. On the ongoing tussle between NSC and IM and Government of India on Naga flag and constitution, Nagaland legislator Imkong L. Imchan says process of negotiation should be sustained to emerge into a compromising position acceptable to both the parties. Imchan adds a stalemate on the issue, a complex one. However, with time, an honorable and polish settlement is achievable. Ex-Parliamentarian Association of Nagaland calls for immediate solution to protracted Naga political issue solely determined by outcomes of dialogues between Government of India and Naga negotiators. The association also points out that 25 years long negotiations between Union Government, NSC and IM and the NNPG is more than enough to have a logical end. The Pom community celebrates Pom Day across the state on Monday with different programs taking place like in Kohima, Dimapur, Nagaland Governor Professor Jagdish Mukhi, Chief Minister Nupur and Health and Family Welfare Minister S. Pangnew Pom extend their greetings on the occasion of Pom Day. Prime accused in the 2006 Varanasi serial blast case, Mohammad Walullah, sentenced to death and life imprisonment by Ghaziabad court on Saturday. At least 18 people were killed and 100 people were injured in the twin blast that took place at the Sankat Mochan Temple and Varanasi Cantonment Railway Station within a span of 15 minutes on the evening of March 7, 2006. Yes, those were the top headlines. Now we'll go to the news in details. With regards to the problems pertaining to the Naga peace process, the chairman of the United Democratic Alliance of Nagaland, Dr. TR Zeliang, appealed to all right-thinking Naga leaders to refrain from putting forth statements based on the personal speculations of the Indo-Naga political issue in public domain. Notably, the leader in a video message stated that overground Naga leaders who are under oath of allegiance to the Constitution of India must restrain themselves from making loose remarks on the matter. In this regard, Zeliang asserted that the various varied debates on the Indo-Naga political issue, both on print and social media, that have resulted in misunderstanding and confusion. Furthermore, Zeliang pointed out that the ongoing conflict of the Naga political issue was seeded in 1960 when the 16-point agreement was signed between both Government of India and Nagas without the consent of the undivided Naga National Council. Zeliang implied that any agreement without all Naga political groups' agreement is inconclusive. Meanwhile, the assumptions that the Nltv National Park will be deforested by the Government of India and allotted to the Naga nationalist workers for resettlement, Zeliang called it a total work of friction and that it is outside the box of negotiation. He elaborated that it has been confirmed that such a demand was never placed before the Government of India, either of the negotiating groups. On the other hand, Zeliang also asserted that the demand for the resignation of democratically elected members at this juncture by the individuals and certain sections of the society is also uncalled for.
In particular, overground Naga leaders who are under oath of allegiance to the Constitution of India must restrain themselves from making loose remarks on the matter. We understand that everyone, including lawmakers and public leaders, have the right to speak out for common welfare of the Naga people. However, one should remember that unlike the 1960s, when overground groups were part of the negotiation, it is the Naga nationalist group who are part of the negotiation today. Therefore, the perception of the present-day UDA government is focused on inclusiveness, which means all the Naga nationalist groups should be part of the long-awaited peace accord in order not to repeat the same mistake of the past. Any unwarranted statement made by Naga leaders which is outside the parameters of the ongoing negotiation between the Naga negotiating groups and the government.
Also on the same note, days after the June 2 meeting of the Parliamentary Core Committee on Naga issue, the Ex-Parliamentary Association of Nagaland has voiced out for immediate solution to the protracted Naga political issue, while asserting that it must be solely determined by the outcomes of dialogues between the Government of India and the Naga negotiators. Notably, the ex-PAN issued a press release on June 4, wherein it informed that the Naga negotiators between the Government of India and the Naga negotiators concluded on October 31, 2019, and the Government of India urged to give an altar call at the earliest so that the Naga political solution becomes a reality. Furthermore, the association stated that it held an executive meeting in Dimapur on June 4, and in the meeting, it unanimously resolved that the negotiators between the Government of India, the NSC and IM, and the Working Committee NNPGs, which is the 25th year, is more than enough for the Nagas to have its logical end. It further added that if the role of Chief Minister of Assam as a mediator is uncalled for, if it is at the behest of the CCO and PI. The ex-PAN further cited that the Naga political issue is not an issue of law and order, nor can the CCO and PI undermine it, and urged the Naga negotiators in particular to be practical and realistic rather than rhetoric in persuasions. Now on the ongoing tussle between the NSC and IM and the Government of India on the Naga flag and constitutions, recently defected MLA Imkong L. Imchen lauded the courage of the Working Committee NNPG for placing their agreed position in public domain, but pointed out that the role of the committee is a mere facilitator and it is limited. Notably, the MLA, while talking to Nagaland TV, stated that so far no Naga or anyone has commented negatively or positively, and therefore it can be taken as a positive step. Imchen added that the stalemate on the issue of flag and constitution is a complex issue. However, with time, an honorable and polished settlement will be tabled. Imchen does believe that the process of negotiation should be sustained to emerge into a compromising position acceptable to both the parties. Furthermore, on being asked if the Government of India is willing on a separate flag and constitution, the MLA asserted that the Indian constitution is liberal, and with a committed leader like Narendra Modi, there is always room for accommodation of diverse opinion, sincerity and commitment, and therefore the Naga should take advantage of his good office and come to a settlement.
Actually, the process of negotiation was started somewhere around 1998. And since then, the talk is continuing. Yes, we all agree it is a complex issue, a complicated issue. And yet, we have our confidence that by taking time, giving more, came out more polished, finally, and then brought about the settlement, which will be honorable for the negotiating parties as well as for the Nagas. That is our trust and confidence. Well, about this, the so-called stalemate.
Now, in the midst of all these ongoing Naga political issues, the Working Committee of Naga National Political Groups held a consultative meeting with the Naga leaders from Arunachal Pradesh at Oking on June 4. Notably, the Tirap Changlang Longding People's Forum, Tirap Changlang Longding's Women's Organization and Tirap Changlang Longding Students Federation participated in the meeting, where the NNPG leaders disclosed the matter being negotiated with the Government of India to the delegations. During the meeting, the TCL leaders expressed satisfaction on the clearly defined negotiated matters between WC NNPGs and the Government of India with regard to the status of Nagas of Arunachal Pradesh. Moreover, the TCL leaders, in solidarity with the urgent expression of the Naga people everywhere for political settlement, urged the WC NNPGs and the Government of India to expedite the solution on the basis of October 31, 2019 concurrence. Now, in an accident of rash driving, a Maruti car hit two women near Godfather Restaurant at Duncan Road in Nupur around 6:30 p.m. on Sunday. Notably, the locals caught the driver as he was trying to flee from the site after the accident and handed him over to the traffic police. Later, the traffic police handed him over to the police. It may be noted that the two women were in their early 20s and were residents of Duncan Bosti. One of the girls was severely injured and even admitted to the hospital, while the other girl was slightly injured.
Around 6:30 to Mondo दुकान दे सामान लो ले जैसे तो इधर वापस खोल जाता हम दे फुटपाथ दे आईना पीछे बड़ा मारो दे से करें तो इधर बड़ा पीछे बड़ा आईना मन के मारे से और करें तो मारी ले भी रुकाना है और पोती देनी चाहिए
Now, it's a great day for Phom community. Chief Minister of Nagaland, Nupur, Governor Professor Jagdish Mukhi and Health and Family Welfare Minister S. Pang New Phom on Monday extended their greetings on the occasion of Phom Day. The governor, taking down to Twitter, stated that the landmark in Phom history reminds everyone of the commitment of the people to shun violence. The governor further stated that the declaration of 6 June as Phom Day marks the importance that the land is flourishing based on the spirit of universal brotherhood. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Rio, taking down to Twitter, said that let us rededicate ourselves to the cause of oneness, peace and unity. Furthermore, Health and Family Welfare Minister S. Pangnew Phom, also taking down to Twitter, say that may the pledge to live in peace made on 6 June 1952 guide and dwell in all us. On the same note, the Phom Union of Kohima on Monday organized Phom Day at Kohima Phom Baptist Church. Notably, the day was observed to mark the pledge that was made by Phom elders on 6th of June 1952 to stop the practice of head hunting and be peaceful. It is to be mentioned that Phom Day or Peace Day is observed to signify tone of peace in Phom areas and is being celebrated every year on June 6.
Is Mr. MT Thamlong, Home Vice President, myself, H. Philip Pucham, General Secretary, and Abong, Finance Secretary, and Mr. Ching Assistant Finance Secretary, and the last, Pangban, Cultural Secretary.
And on the same note, the Phom community of Dimapur on Monday celebrated the Phom Day at Dimapur Phom Church. The Phom Day was also called as Peace Day by the Phom community, who observes this day to signify the dawn of peace in their area. It is celebrated every year on June 6. The union's vice president, while speaking to Nagaland TV, stated that during the yesteryears, headhuntings were too common and there were no sign of peace in the Phom area. However, with a glimmer of light, the then political leader of Mokokchung appointed an assistant officer in Longleng, where the process for peace began. Now moving on, the Office of the Deputy Commissioner of Wokha on Monday issued a traffic advisory in view of the major mudslides caused by the incessant rains between Chukitong Town and Doyang Bridge at National Highway 2 under Wokha district. The notification stated that all medical and other emergency travelers are advised to avoid taking the route, as there will be a long queue of traffic due to the ongoing clearance of mud and rock debris. Meanwhile, the notification also mentioned that further advisory on the same will be issued shortly. Well, the second edition of the demand-driven skill development program for the youth of Nagaland in construction sector under the aegis of multi-skilled technicians was launched at Tuli Town under Mokokchung district on Monday. Notably, the Department of Employment, Skill Development and Entrepreneurship Government of Nagaland, in collaboration with Xenorik Initiative Society, launched the program. It may be mentioned that through this program, around 600 youths from across the state will be trained as multi-skilled technicians in the construction sector. Well, in Pungro, Subdivision's Timber Traders Union on Monday organized a plantation drive at Pungro town under the theme Save Plants, Save Life. Meanwhile, during the program, the additional Deputy Commissioner Homo Tungoy conveyed his sincere gratitude to the organizers and highlighted the advantages of planting trees. While the president of Pungro Area College Students Union also acknowledged the organizers and public for their selfless service towards planting trees. It may be mentioned that the program was hosted by Vice President of PSDTTU, Shelum Tong, while the keynote address was given by the President of PSDTTU. Well, in Mokokchung, a new building for the Sakhi One-Stop Center was inaugurated on Monday near Nurse Hostel Imdi in Majokang Ward. Notably, the inaugural program was graced by the Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Social Welfare and Administration, NSSWB, Government of Nagaland, Martha R. Ritse. Furthermore, Ritse, while addressing the gathering, said that Mokokchung is a torch-bearer in initiating innovative programs and providing commendable service to the beneficiaries. She further encouraged the district administrations to continue supporting and further strengthening the Sakhi OSC. Meanwhile, the Deputy Commissioner of Mokokchung, Sashang Pratap Singh, in his welcome speech, drew light in the word Sakhi and on the services provided by Sakhi OSC. It is to be mentioned that Sakhi OSC is a centrally sponsored scheme formulated by Union Ministry of Women and Child Development. They provide integrated support and assistance to women affected by violence, both in private and public space, under one roof. They also facilitate immediate emergency and non-emergency access to a range of services including medical, legal, psychological and counseling support. As agriculture continues to be the livelihood of the Naga people today, the long kum tomatoes are set to hit the market soon. Notably, the community's connection to its land and is as old as the community itself, and the tomatoes are grown in significant quantities at Longkum village in Mokokchung during this season. Remarkably, the harvested tomatoes are sent from the village to a number of other places in Nagaland, including Kohima, Woka, Twensang, Mokokchung town and Dimapur. In this regard, the locals say that Dimapur has the biggest demand for the Longkum tomatoes. Notably, an estimate of 1,000 to 2,000 metric tons of tomatoes will have been exported from the village to other parts of Nagaland by July this year. Thus, it is a viable opportunity for the younger generations to sustain a means of livelihood through farming. Now in Medzifima, Gaspani 7 Assam Rifles on Sunday observed the World Environment Day in Medzifima by undertaking a tree plantation drive. It is to be mentioned that the event was organized under the theme Only One Earth, thereby warranting collective transformative action on a global scale to celebrate, protect and restore the planet for a greener, healthier and better tomorrow. It may also be mentioned that the drive was organized in collaboration with civil administration, forest and police officials, Sesart, Medzifima and local volunteers from Medzifima, in which over 1,000 saplings were planted. Meanwhile, a series of events were also organized by the kids of Assam Rifles Public School, Medzifima, which included 1-week summer camp and outdoor activity for the kids to connect with one another and nature, followed with poster making and painting competitions, as well as speeches and skit by the kids to spread awareness on the emergent need to conserve, preserve and protect the mother nature. Now let's see some of the regional news. Tripura Chief Minister Manik Saha on Monday filed his nominations for the upcoming by-elections in the state. Notably, Saha filed nomination as a BJP candidate for the by-elections in Tripura from town Bardowali Assembly seat. Furthermore, Saha, after submitting his nominations while addressing the gathering, called upon the voters for their blessings. In other words, to work relentlessly for the welfare of the state. Earlier, the Tripura Chief Minister stated that the upcoming by-election in 4 assembly seats in the state would be an acid test for the ruling BJP. Notably, the by-elections to the 4 assembly seats in Tripura comes barely 10 months prior to the 2023 assembly elections in the state. Now note this, as many as 26 people have been confirmed dead after a bus carrying 30 passengers, including 28 from Panna district in Madhya Pradesh, fell into a gorge near Damata in Uttarakhand district on Sunday evening. Notably, the rest of the injured persons were shifted to center for treatment. Meanwhile, taking to Twitter, the Prime Minister's office expressed grief over the loss of their lives and announced an ex gratia of rupees 2 lakhs each for the families of the deceased and rupees 50,000 each for those injured. It may also be mentioned that Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami also announced relief of rupees 1 lakh for the next of kin of the dead and also rupees 50,000 for the injured in Uttarakhand bus accident, while Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan announced compensation of rupees 5 lakhs to the deceased families, while rupees 50,000 and free treatment to the 4 critically injured, including the driver.
माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी घटना के बाद से संपर्क में हैं और मैं भी रात को 12 बजे यहाँ पहुँच गया था। पहले कंट्रोल रूम में जाके हमने पूरी घटना की जानकारी ली थी रात को ही सारे सब खाई से निकाल लिए गए और रात में ही पोस्टमार्टम संपन्न हो गया। अब सभी पार्थिव शरीर देहरादून लाए जा रहे हैं।
Now, the prime accused in the 2006 Varanasi serial blast case, Mohammad Walaullah, has been sentenced to death penalty and life imprisonment by Ghaziabad court on Saturday. Notably, he was found guilty by a Ghaziabad court on June 4. It may be mentioned that at least 18 people were killed and over 100 people were injured in the twin blasts that took place at the Sankat Mochan temple and Varanasi cantonment railway station within a span of 15 minutes on the evening of March 7, 2006. Notably, Waliullah, a resident of Phulpur in Uttar Pradesh, Prayagraj, was arrested by police after the blast took place, and the trial of his cases were held in Ghaziabad after lawyers in Varanasi declined to defend him. It may also be mentioned that Waliullah has been charged with murder, attempted murder, and voluntarily injuring dangerous weapons without booking under the provisions of the Explosives Act. And in the wake of a threat letter addressed to Bollywood actor Salman Khan and his father Salim Khan, the police sources say that the gangster Lawrence Bose has been questioned. The address to the actor that had LB written at the end, pointing to the gangster's initials. The threat letter was sent to Salman Khan and his father Salim Khan on June 5. The police sources say that the letter in Hindi threatened both Salim Khan and his son to meet the same fate as slain singer Sidhu Moosewala. Lawrence Bishnoi had earlier in 2018 threatened Salman Khan, and the threat was linked to the black buck poaching case of 1998, in which Salman was one of the accused. Meanwhile, Bandra police filed an FIR against unknown persons and further probe is underway. It is to be mentioned that gangster Lawrence Bishnoi is being investigated in the ongoing case of Sidhu Moosewala's killing. Now, the Punjab Police on Monday arrested another suspect in the killing of Punjabi singer and politician Sidhu Moosewala. Notably, the suspected, identified as Devendra alias Kala, was arrested from Haryana's Fatehabad. Based on inputs from the interrogations of the two other arrested suspects, reportedly the police had received inputs that Kala accommodated two suspected murders in his house on 16 and 17. It is to be mentioned that earlier police had arrested two persons identified as Pavan and Nasib from Bhirdana, with the latest becoming the third arrest in the case from the Fatehabad district. Now, here's an interesting one. After being suspended from the party over alleged derogatory remarks against Prophet Muhammad, the national spokesperson of BJP, Nupur Sharma, on Monday filed an FIR at Delhi police station for receiving threats over her communal remarks. Notably, the Delhi police have registered the FIR under IPC sections 153, 507 and 509 and based on it initiated a probe into the matter. For the unversed, the BJP on Sunday suspended its national spokesperson Nupur Sharma and expelled its Delhi media head Naveen Kumar Jindal as the row over the alleged derogatory remarks against Prophet Muhammad escalated with protests from some Muslim countries. It may be mentioned that her remarks sparked demonstrations by Muslim groups in the country and sharp reactions from other countries like Kuwait, Qatar and Iran, and also Twitter trends calling for a boycott of Indian products in some countries. And on the other hand, Congress held a meeting of the Central Planning Group on Sunday in New Delhi in order to prepare for the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Senior Congress leader Rahul Gandhi also attended the meeting. Notably, the Yatra, which aims at connecting Kanyakumari in southern India to Kashmir in northern India, is set to begin on October 2. It is to be mentioned that Congress interim President Sonia Gandhi announced this mass campaign to counter polarization politics with the slogan Bharat Jodo. Meanwhile, the 5-month-long Yatra will include Pada Yatra, rallies and public meetings which will be attended by the Congress top brass including Sonia and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. And the Enforcement Directorate on Monday conducted searches at Delhi Health and Home Minister Satyendra Jains' residence in connection with Hawala transactions related to a Kolkata-based company. Notably, the move comes days after the Central Probe Agency arrested Jain on May 30. Jain was arrested in connection with a disproportionate asset and money laundering case. Jain reportedly laundered black money worth Rs 16.39 crores through 54 shell companies of 3 Hawala operators of Kolkata. Meanwhile, Jain will be under the custody of ED till June 9. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday inaugurated the iconic week celebrations of the Ministry of Finance Minister and Ministry of Corporate Affairs at Vigyan Bhawan in New Delhi. It is to be mentioned that as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the iconic week is being celebrated from June 6 to June 11, 2022. Notably, at the event, Prime Minister Modi unveiled a digital exhibition that traces the journey of the two ministries, Finance and Corporate Affairs. Over the past 8 years, he also released a special series of Rs 1, Rs 2, Rs 5, Rs 10 and Rs 20 coins. The special series of coins have the theme of the logo of Akkam and is easily identifiable to visually impaired persons. Meanwhile, during the event, Modi, while addressing the gathering, mentioned that Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav is not just a celebration of 75 years. It is a moment to celebrate, fulfill pump and vigor into the dreams for an independent India seen by the leaders of India's freedom and go ahead with the new resolutions.
जन जन जिनके लिए आराध्य है ऐसे प्रधानमंत्री माननीय श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का हृदय से अभिनंदन है.
Well, here's one more. The Punjab Police have arrested 5 more persons in the high-profile murder case of international kabaddi player Sandeep Singh Nangal Ambian, taking the total arrest to 9. Jalandhar Rural SSP Swapan Sharma stated that the arrested persons have been identified as Harwinder Singh, Vikas Malhi, Sachin Dholia, Manjot Kaur and Yadwinder Singh. Police have seized 7 pistols, including 5.30 bore foreign-made, 2.315 country-made and 3 vehicles. Meanwhile, 21 persons have been identified in the case, even as the names of only 9 have been made public. Furthermore, the police stated that Ambian forming his own kabaddi league and it being joined by several prominent players is stated to be the main reason behind his killing. Ambian was shot dead by 5 unidentified assailants during a kabaddi match at Malan's village in Jalandhar around 6 p.m. on March 14. Now in Nigeria, more than 50 people are feared to be dead, while dozens of others were wounded after a gunman opened fire on worshippers and detonated explosives at a Catholic church in southwestern Nigeria on Sunday. The police stated that the attackers targeted the San Francis Catholic Church in Ondo State just as the worshippers gathered on Pentecost Sunday. Meanwhile, among the dead were many children. The police further stated that the presiding priest was also abducted. Authorities did not immediately release an official death toll. However, sources claimed at least 50 people have been killed. Though others put the figure higher, Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari expressed condolences for the families of the victims and ordered an emergency agencies to assist the injured. Furthermore, Buhari stated that only fiends from neither region could have conceived and carried out such dastardly act. And Russian President Vladimir Putin warned of new strikes if the United States supply longer-range missiles to Ukraine. Putin in an interview remarked that delivering new arms to Ukraine only aims to drag out the armed conflict for as long as possible. Putin further mentioned that in the case of deliveries of missiles to Kyiv, Russia will strike those facilities that it has not yet targeted. It may be noted that earlier in June, U.S. President Joe Biden announced that the U.S. is providing more advanced rocket systems and munitions to Ukraine. Now, on Monday, an awareness campaign on building and other construction workers was organized by the government of Nagaland Building and Other Construction Workers Welfare Board at Hopong Q Memorial Hall in Kipure. Chief Executive Officer of NBOCW Welfare Board, T. Chuba Yangir, chaired the meeting. During the program, Chairman of NBOCW Welfare Board, Dr. Kekre Yome, stated that there are about 1,280 recognized villages and 75 unrecognized, and the goal of the board is to enroll all skilled laborers and workers from all villages. Deputy Speaker of Nagaland Legislative Assembly, T. Yang Seo Sangtam, who also took part in the campaign. Further, T. Chuba Yangir highlighted that there will be enrollment of construction workers in which the workers will be given empowerment of giving them training, social security, life insurance, child education assistance, tool grant, maternity benefit, medical health benefits, as well as Ayushman Bharat for the whole family.
The Nagaland Building and Other Construction Workers Welfare Board too. Pura posti de Nagaland de 1,280 recognized posti ase, 75 unrecognized posti ase. Pura posti de bhi. Murgi lagagor, noile bhi gauri lagagor, noile bhi manu lagor. Manako goile o itu gam ke mati bol lage. Sob posti de inaga thakya manu ase. American laga come to itu gam ke sabole.
Itu illegal immigrants kan ke piche. So itu kan rai among baka economy, especially among yade American youth government ai gena. Aro ami MLA kore gena apna bhi sab dekhiche. Town area de bhi charta among rasta click to bhi noche to within a span of 1 year de. Ha? तो दादे काम करहान तो सब इधर तो पहाड़ पर अमान पूरे तो इधर तो अमान ना इकोनॉमिक तो पहाड़ ही चाहिए तो इधर अमान किस्मत भालो के ना किफर डिस्ट्रिक्ट तो एस्पिरेशन डिस्ट्रिक्ट है तो यादे government of India with the invasion of the government of India. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Kifri district, yade American sector indicators kan isi sector de digena. So skill be tade ekta aspiration.
Now let's see on the sports news. Rafael Nadal won a 14th French Open and record-extending 22nd Grand Slam title on Sunday with a straight sets rout of Casper Ruud to become the oldest male champion at Roland Garros. 36-year-old Nadal won 6-3, 6-3, 6-0 with victory coming 17 years to the day since he claimed his first French Open as a 19-year-old in 2005. After securing 14th French Open title, Nadal became the oldest winner in Paris since a 34-year-old Andre Gimeno in 1972. And Wales have reached the World Cup finals for the first time in 64 years after edging past Ukraine in Cardiff. The only goal of the game came 11 minutes before the break when Gareth Bale drove a free kick at goal which Georgi Bushan seemed to have covered, only for Andrei Yarmolenko attempting to clear with a header falling backwards to divert the ball into the net. Defeat ends the emotional journey for Ukraine one step before reaching Qatar. Wales will play in Group B in Qatar alongside England, Iran and the United States. On the other hand, Cristiano Ronaldo marked his return to Portugal starting lineup with a brace as Fernando Santos' side comfortably thrashed Switzerland 4-0 to claim their first win of the Nations League champion. Cristiano Ronaldo scored twice as Portugal moved top of their Nations League group. William Carvalho opened the scoring when he pounced after Ronaldo's free kicks was only paired by Gregor Kobel. Ronaldo scored twice in 4 first-half minutes. Joao Cancelo scored the 4th goal to give Portugal a comfortable win over Switzerland. Portugal will face the Czech Republic in a home match on June 9. With Portugal's win, we wind up our Nagaland TV primetime news. I'm Rinki Gogoi signing off. For more updates, keep watching Nagaland TV. So Manulak Awas.
New YY